And the man at the center of an election fraud scandal in North Carolina's 9th District may have used similar tactics in 2016. That's according to a new Washington Post investigation. Leslie Mccrae Dowless is accused of mishandling absentee ballots in favor of Republican Mark Harris. Harris's victory has yet to be certified because of the scandal. The report also suggests that North Carolina's election board tried to warn justice officials about Dowless months before the 2018 midterm elections. Washington Post investigative reporter Beth Reinhard is with us to discuss her excellent reporting. Beth, great reporting here. Take us through what type of evidence the election board provided to the Justice Department last year.
So Mccrae Dowless came to the attention of the Elections Board in 2016. He testified in front of the board. You know, some would say provided some evidence when in his testimony about some questionable tactics. The board referred the matter to the U.S. Attorney. We've known that, and we've obviously known that the U.S. Attorney you know, didn't prosecute. It's unclear whether they, you know, to what extent they may have investigated Dowless, and also that the, you know, district attorney was also aware of these allegations, and also did not file any charges. What we learned last week was that DOJ, the Main Justice Department in Washington, that a couple officials in their public integrity section, which oversees election crimes, they were also made aware of these allegations. They met with North Carolina election folks 9 months ago, back in January, and then, you know, got some follow-up email in which, you know, the whole evidence was laid out that the Elections Board had at that time against Mccrae Dowless. Workers saying that they had been paid by him to collect ballots, which is illegal in North Carolina, and then getting paid by the ballot, and then also complaints from voters saying that this had happened to them.
So I'm just curious, Beth, did you get any response from these North Carolina election officials or from the U.S. Attorney's office there to explain why all this dragging of the feet, and to have any sort of explanation for why it took so long for them to look into these allegations?
So unfortunately, we've got no answers from DOJ or the U.S. Attorney's Office about to what extent, if any, they looked into these allegations. You know, why maybe they didn't take it seriously. Maybe it was a question of limited resources. Maybe it was a question of, you know, they just didn't think it was, you know, a worthwhile case. But that's totally unclear. What we do know is that this same guy kept working on campaigns, and now allegedly was using these same tactics of having people collect ballots from folks who didn't know better, didn't know that you are supposed to. You have to deliver the ballot yourself, either through the mail or in person, or have a close relative do it.
Right.
They didn't know better, apparently, and you know, now this very close race remains in limbo.
So, you know, it's pretty clear from your story that the U.S. Attorney's Office in North Carolina could have done more to try and prevent Dowless from working on future campaigns after they were made aware of these allegations. So you mentioned a couple of scenarios. Is it also possible that there's political bias there in the North Carolina election officials?
I mean, we talked to folks on the ground who speculate that that may be the case. I mean, there is a certain amount of subjectivity in any office like that in terms of what cases they decide to prosecute and which cases they don't. And so, you know, it's really up to the U.S. Attorney to kind of set the record straight as to what happened. And that man, Robert Higdon, who was appointed by Donald Trump in October 2017 to head the office in the Eastern District of North Carolina, has chosen not to say anything about this matter so far.
And how is this getting resolved at this point? There have been calls for months now for a new election. Is there any update on that front?
So the investigation continues. The Elections Board has subpoenaed tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands, I believe, documents from the Harris campaign, which they're going through. And so they haven't shared, obviously, those documents with the public or the content of the subpoenas. We just know that they are, have asked for a lot of evidence, and the Harris campaign has turned it over. Meanwhile, Mark Harris has been demanding that the election board certify him. The board filed documents the other day saying, no, we're not going to do that. We feel this matter needs to be investigated, and we are going to continue to do that.
Is there a timeline, a drop-dead date? And further, will this be a matter that's resolved by the state's election board, or will Congress finally have to step in?
I mean, it's really very sort of chaotic and uncertain right now, in part because the election board itself is in turmoil. It technically was dissolved and by the court because of a previous dispute over its makeup. It's going to be reconstituted. So there's just so much uncertainty. And now, of course, with Democrats in control of the House, they're on record, the leadership is on record saying they're not going to seat Mark Harris. So there's just a lot of questions still to be answered in this.
Absolutely. Lots of questions. I'm sure you will keep reporting on it. Beth Reinhard, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.